Just a little warning, this video does deal with racism and also transphobia to a degree. Hey everyone, Genry here. I just wanted to give a brief update and then some. Firstly, my No More Heroes 3 analysis is going really well. I've been in a lot of discussions about the narrative and such with people across various forums, and it's been really fun deciphering the whole thing. The reason it's taking so long is because the game has a lot to say, despite many people citing its story as shallow or even non-existent. Not that there isn't room to criticize, but that's what's been so fun about dissecting No More Heroes 3, both with people that did and did not enjoy this adventure. We'll get into all of that, trust me. However, seeing as how I still need a lot more time with this analysis, I wanted to put something out to hold folks over, and I thought it'd be fun to talk about the curious case of certain feedback this game received before its launch. I know I'm really late on this whole thing, but I want to have some fun doing my best Cavernacle impression, without the accent. So this will be about Travis Touchdown and that hoodie. While commonly referred to as a shirt due to the rough quality of this phone camera shot, it is indeed a hoodie, and not just any hoodie. It is the hoodie that's part of a clothing line started by Nobuaki Kaneko and his band Red Orca, which only formed because of No More Heroes 3, and they still continue to make music to this day. Either way, Suda51's little tweet really rustled a surprising amount of jimmies. This hoodie was like the final piece of marketing insanity we would see with No More Heroes 3. More on that later, but if you're looking for my thoughts on this hoodie, well...
I have no reaction to this.
What?
And that was for multiple reasons. One, yeah, it's a very basic thought. It's like if you wore a shirt that said drink water or love tits. Like, yeah, I concur, so what? And two, I was already well aware of the clothing line, as it was first sported by Red Orca members in their music videos. Still, I think part of me was expecting this to see a big backlash from all kinds of people from many internet holes, and like clockwork, it sure did. A lot of really terrible shit was spewed by shitheads that get needlessly territorial when a creator says or does something they don't agree with, which is still maddening to me. It's pretty lame that a game series like No More Heroes attracted scumbags like the ones we'll look over and mock thoroughly. There's various levels of stupid-ass complaints tied to actions like this. I almost wish one of those popular alt-right shitheels on YouTube crying about SJW pandering got wind of this and let out a rant I can patronize. Ah well, not today, Quartering. Continue to piss and moan about multi-billion-dollar franchises I don't give a shit about. Still, random assholes online had plenty to say, and now that it's related to a game I was deeply interested in, I kinda love the idea of throwing my hat in the ring and on this channel. And I'll do my best not to sound like another Craig Allen.
Jim Crow has the name of a man, but is a ghost. I am a man.
So, for this Halloween season, Genry's Ghost House will dive into this shit, because what's scarier than bigotry? But just before getting into that, this deserves a bit of background because I think the message is still a tad misunderstood. So this fuck racism brand might possibly be an homage to Fishbone, an American rock band that's decades old at this point and has had an audience in Japan that dates back to its fruition. So, believe it or not, the term didn't come to form in spring 2020 with the murder of George Floyd like some would probably like to believe, but that event obviously ignited many discussions on race issues in general, and not just across America, but the entire world. Enter the band Red Orca. They seem to have their own thoughts on race issues that have been prevalent in Asian communities for years, and it's only become more of a problem with the pandemic that's spread across the globe. Most popular term was #StopAsianHate. Here's an excerpt where they plainly and angrily express what they think. The point is, statements like fuck racism is about so much more than the issues happening in the United States. It's basic enough to be all-encompassing. That way anyone dealing with race issues can relate to it. So, let's have fun picking apart some of these shitty statements I've caught in the wilds from losers that are too busy being in their own bubble of stupidity. And if some of these are straight up shitposts, or if some of these idiots simply wanted to get a reaction out of people, bully for you and nuts to me. You win, I guess. Who the hell really cares? I still get to have my fun here. So here this user wrote localization team with a sad, pensive face. I think as a way to express that he thinks the translators are making items in the game that either misconstrue or embarrass the product. Like, damn, I know Nisa dropped the ball a few times when it came to translating Silver 2425, but I've never heard of an instance where the translation team gets to take liberties like this with in-game items against the wishes of the creators. But that's not even relevant, because this is literally from Suda's personal Twitter page. We see him reply to menial shit. This isn't driven by a PR guy or anything. Anyway, someone replies that it's in the Japanese release too, and they seem really disappointed in that. Which is retorted by saying this sort of thing's been in Suda's games for years. I'm not 100% sure if they mean political aspects, which is definitely true, rejection of racist beliefs, or something else along the lines of that. But what actually baffles me is the shithead's response saying, "Why don't you go cancel Suda for the silver case?" which isn't elaborated further. They seem to grossly misunderstand what the game was even about, but not sure exactly what aspect. I can only theorize. I won't go too deeply into this and skip this time if you haven't played the Silver Case yet, but that game is a crime thriller that at first, gotta emphasize that, feels like yet another violent propaganda story that treats crime like a literal disease and it must be eradicated. The vaccine? Several bullets in the fucking skull. However, as you play the game and continue to pay attention, it's chock full of anti-capitalist themes that were inspired by real-life events that heavily affected the common folk of Japan, depictions of a corrupt police force, and even the most badass detective in the game shows his true vulnerable self while we witness the scumbags of his own unit get torn down. Now, how that would make a progressive person that rejects fascism and racism want to cancel Suda, I'd seriously love to know. I'm pretty sure everything I just described would be something they would enjoy from storytelling. Both of these posts are saying the same horseshit, being upset that politics are in the game. I think it's really funny to say this when it's the director of the Silver Case, Killer 7, and the 25th Ward. Hell, even Travis Strikes Again had politics in some of its writing, granted it was making some more opaque statements. What these idiots usually mean is they only like games with politics they have literally zero awareness of due to their refusal to think. In other words, they hate having their narrow-minded worldview challenged, even slightly apparently. Here's a good one. The woke pandering never stops. Suda51, it's almost like a bot wrote this, has clued in that his games sell better and are more popular in the West. So he's throwing in whatever popular leftist propaganda he can get away with in a sad attempt to sell more copies. How sad. This makes me... This makes me laugh because Suda has been very well aware his games sell better in the West since No More Heroes 1 back in 2008. It flopped in Japan but sold well in the US. This revelation hit him over a decade ago, not just now, you putz. Anyway, calling such a banal statement leftist propaganda certainly says a lot about their own perspective and bigotry. I also like the reply with Killer 7, probably the most diverse a cast could possibly get. There's even a paraplegic. What is this, Extreme Ghostbusters? Speaking more on that, Dreambaum had a few things to say about this controversy and brought up Killer 7 as well, and some asshole tells him to stop projecting Western pop politics on Japanese devs, and they didn't give a shit and they still don't. Heavens be praised. As if something as simple as diversity in a cast is Western pop politics. Also, who's the one projecting here? The one literally pointing out a game with a protagonist that's Irish, Japanese, Mexican, Chinese, Puerto Rican, gay, black, and paraplegic all at the same time? Or the asshole that had nothing to say beyond this and probably thinks Metal Gear Solid is just a cool spy game? Oh fuck, am I projecting now? Whatever, moving on. This person is expressing they'll just use their hacked Switch to play the game in order to not monetarily support it, which is always the dumbest shit to me. While I'm obviously an advocate for purchasing products that support the creators you like, definitely the case if they have very inoffensive statements like fuck racism, but a lot of creators tend to care more about people simply getting the chance to experience their work rather than how much money they'll get out of it. I like to think Suda is one of these people. Either way, enjoy the game, dumbass, playing right into an auteur's hand. This one is just horrible. And a lie only spewed by scumbags. I'm not even reading this crap aloud. Here's some really shitty ones, saying that wearing a hoodie like that, or even further, not being racist makes no canonical sense. Blurring out some good boys that probably don't want to be associated with such toxic garbage. I'm not sure where they got the idea that Travis being against racism doesn't align with his character. Perhaps that terrible scene with Nathan Copeland, but I'm willing to wager it didn't matter what skin color those groupies were, it was going to happen either way. Maybe this comes from how being a weeb or otaku has become heavily associated with nationalism, the alt-right, and just general bigotry. It's actually a really interesting correlation that's been abundant for nearly 10 years, and it's believed to stem from how nationalistic and xenophobic the Japanese government and some of its population tends to be. These weebs that don't understand even a fraction of politics think Japan's government is the prime way to run a country, you know, despite their dwindling population and steep economic decline. Anyway, Travis is a weeb who's obsessed with anime garbage, so he must be racist. I guess that's this moron's logic. Of course, he comes from a different generation of weebs. He was in his mid-20s during the 2000s. They're an entirely different breed that are clearly more open to understanding different cultures surrounding them, not just whatever 4chan shitheels want to tell you. There's also his obsession with luchador wrestling, Mexican culture, and studying under both a Japanese and black swordsmaster.
I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding. I never fought your father.
Liar! You killed him! Sliced him in two! You sick bastard!
Whoa. Calm down a little. Jacobs was my mentor. I'd never kill him.
I ask again, how the fuck does Travis being racist make any canonical sense? You know, the guy who honors 2, maybe 3 minorities as his masters, and never for a second gave a shit about his opponent's race. Now we have something calling it cringe and American pandering. I repeat, American pandering. Oh, but they're not done. They also claim that only Americans and Canadians deal with the issue of racism. And the rest of the world, yes, all the other 193 countries on planet Earth have learned not to care about racism and have gone above it. Holy shit, I cannot fathom how stupid one has to be to think this. At least they're still buying the game. The dumbass parade never ends, folks. Omitting all nuances from No More Heroes, grinding it down to just him killing billions of people, thinks others will consider Travis absolved of all sins because of the hoodie. Real fans know how he really tries to absolve himself of all sins.
なので彼は寝てる時に残業するために横に写真、マリアさんの写真を置いてると。
Travis is a killer, and so every time he goes to bed at night, he's basically asking for forgiveness from the Virgin Mary for everything he's done wrong. So he's in his dreams. He's confessing, he's praying for forgiveness.
Anyway, someone points out the origin of the hoodie, but that still isn't good enough for this chump. Saying that simply for having such a normal-ass statement like disliking racism means that people are gonna run with the idea that Travis is suddenly some based anti-bigot, which... what? This bozo is just way too concerned over what fans perceive and is convinced that somehow ruins the product. And for the layup, the piece de resistance, they ask, what does fuck racism have to do with punk? God damn. Here's a bonus, speaking more on idiots that have no idea what punk is. Punk literally means anti-establishment. That means conservative in 2021. Holy shit. Yeah, you know those punks, they love nothing more than sucking off cops and supporting presidents that go out of their way to harm minorities. Yep, totally punk. I'll level with people and say this is probably a shitpost, but it's really funny to think there are Neanderthals out there who legitimately reach the immediate conclusion that a phrase like fuck racism is something inherently antagonistic towards white people. Says a lot, really. Speaking of shitpost and shit people, a nice little 3-pack for you. Someone claiming, by definition, it's a socio-political statement which No More Heroes didn't need before. Again, making such a basic statement shouldn't be considered socio-political. Also, it can be argued that No More Heroes and even most pseudo-directed games already have socio-political elements about violence in media, professional responses to crime, as well as the dangers of modern society and housing. These people are just too stupid and ignorant to understand subtext, and often plain text. The next one claims such a simple statement is the sign of a hug box of progressive liberal democracy. I understand it's dumb to think anything worthwhile to come from 4chan, but I feel like these racist shitheads are just spewing buzzwords in vain attempts to sound tough. But in reality, they're so blatantly brain dead, and they're trying to excuse racism in general because a lot of people are racist and it's an old concept. What? I don't know, this could all just be shitposting. The bottom comment probably is. Here's a mega load of crap. So this is going to be a bit. Let's look at reason 1 of the uproar. So they think the visuals and character design of the game reminds them of degenerated Jewish Allegria art with legs fanning out towards the feet and having autistic bonbon colors. So for those that didn't understand what I just read out, and perhaps aren't aware of what they mean, this is what Allegria art is considered. It's a widely accepted art style for corporate ads and messages these past few years. Now, whatever you think of this art is pretty irrelevant. What the hell in No More Heroes 3 makes them think of this style? Nothing looks like that. What, Mr. Blackhole isn't allowed to have large legs? Also, sprinkling all these problems they suddenly have with the game's design that they never brought up before just to force themselves to hate this. Again, all of this is now a problem because of one single hoodie. Second reason is about Henry's original voice actor, Quentin Flynn. That's a whole other can of worms, but the company was just covering their ass because it was looking like a huge fallout. And for what it's worth, his new voice actor was fucking awesome. I understand some of what came out regarding the accusations against Flynn might have been untrue, but him being a cheating piece of shit certainly wasn't. Sure, maybe that's not grounds to fire him from his job, but whatever, fuck him. I hope he apologized to his wife, but hey, that's none of my business. Third reason is absolutely hilarious. Calling such a plain statement is something that can only support transgender people and claim it's Jewish coined. What the hell is that supposed to mean? I think this is just more buzzwords they're shitting out of their mouths. Pretty sure Fishbone is all American. These conspiracies aren't just crazy, they're completely baseless. Weird nationalist shitheads desperate to find some kind of enemy. Fourth reason is also pretty baseless, considering the female lineup in the game. We can argue about Naomi's bust all we want. Her first design didn't have such an obnoxious bust, just an FYI. You know, the game Suda actually directed, not No More Heroes 2. But that's not even relevant. The women involved in the game are about as sexualized as usual in regards to the original. Hell, Kimmy this time around, compared to her original modest outfit, is super sexualized now, designed by the same artist behind Bayonetta. That betraying his past self bit is also funny. This asshole probably thinks Suda directed games like No More Heroes 2 and Lollipop Chainsaw. Silver Case, Flower, Sun, and Rain, these games weren't necessarily covered in sexy women, you know. Like Suda has said before, he's not that into the idea of sexualized themes and characters without a point to it. And that still rings true. Last reason, thank God, because this is honestly kind of exhausting. He lives on Twitter now? I guess sometimes posting random shit and retweeting fan art means he lives on Twitter. Calling Rick and Morty Reddit media is funny. You can tell this idiot is still stuck in the late 2000s where 4chan users are supposed to hate literally anything a giant social media platform like Reddit talks about, and they go off to list more normie shit for no real reason. I'm not a fan of Marvel's recent stuff, but I'm not going to fault an auteur just because he likes it. Nothing remarkable here to speak of, just another moron who doesn't understand subtext in the slightest, and also getting angry over No More Heroes suddenly being politically correct. Why does such a tiny statement trigger these people? And trying to waive any depth in Suda's writing by calling analyses Deridian and Foucaultian is especially shitty. Why act so smart when you're plainly stating you refuse to think? I was only able to get part of this message since it's from a series of deleted tweets, but they're claiming video games are supposed to be a form of escapism and entertainment, and basically that real-world politics shouldn't be in them. And they immediately call the developers hypocrites simply because they don't have this other message. So which is it? You don't like plain statements deemed political in your games, or do you want more? Also, video games can still be a form of escapism. The game isn't asking you to put down the controller and donate your savings. It's just 2 words. Stop being such a baby. Some asshole not wanting BLM or tranny shit in Suda's games. This is both just racist and transphobic. Don't know where the latter claim is even coming from, but someone replying claims this is evidence of otherwise. I ask again, who are the ones projecting here? It's just fucking colors. This last one is just incredible. It's a copy paste that was being spread around for a while too. I won't go through the entire thing, pause if you really want to read it. Waving away any recent movements as nonsense and projecting so insanely hard in order to paint this picture of Suda as a creator. Going so far as crediting him for parts of his game he didn't even write, and misreading said parts completely. And going so far as to call Travis an Aryan Chad, which is probably the most baffling part here. This kind of tells me that talking about these games and Suda as a creator is completely lost in a place like 4chan. Big surprise, right? I was just kidding. Here's the last big shit pile, a compilation of not only insane amounts of projection, but also a great example of foresight. For what it's worth, nearly all of these things that inspired the original No More Heroes are still prevalent in No More Heroes 3. Also, this stupid ass collage was so aimless and brain dead that they added a bunch of explanations all over in order to try not appearing stupid as hell. I'm curious if this person knows Sid Vicious supposedly wore Nazi shit just to get a rise out of older folks back in the day. It's funny because if you think about it, that's literally what this hoodie Travis is wearing is doing to these shitheads now to the same exact effect. I'm sure the irony was lost on whoever made this. Kozaki designed Skelter's gun, not Suda. He also admitted years later that he claimed Spaceballs as an inspiration to avoid getting into big trouble with LucasArts back then, but the inspiration was, in fact, Star Wars. You know, the ultimate example of pop culture that opened the gates to make cinema kitschy and mainstream. There's still references to that moe anime Travis enjoys in the new game too. Also, Suda did not look at Johnny Knoxville and go, hey look, an apolitical family man, I'll base my jerk-off character on him. He saw a clip of Johnny's nipple being bitten. That's all. It was 2005, you jackass. Now, let's look into what this turd claims No More Heroes 3 will be all about. Granted, this was before the game launched. It's still full of pure ignorance and stupidity. They're upset that he likes Rick and Morty, Avengers, and Stranger Things. Only one of these can be argued to have influenced the story, by the way. And why be so mad about Suda merely liking said entertainment? Probably because they're new and popular. Naomi and Sonic Juice being examples of Suda having a more random approach and comparing the latter to Pickle Rick, ignoring that he didn't even design Sonic Juice. What the hell kind of comparison is that? Why is Max in this? He's from the 90s, dumbass. You can't even be consistent on which generation you hate. He's upset that someone made fan art and Suda simply retweeted. Apparently it's a dig to show the creator supports trans rights too, again, just showing more of their bigotry. Oh yeah, I forgot people were trying to pin James Gunn as a pedo with zero evidence. The only proof they claimed was a bunch of edgy jokes. That, my friends, is called a double standard. What the fuck is this? And lastly, a claim that the Allegria style I mentioned before and CalArts generalization are what's prevalent in the game. Despite that being completely untrue, why the hell do they keep dogging on Mr. Blackhole? It's so baffling. Allegra didn't invent abstract proportions, you losers. No character in this game looks anything close to what one would consider CalArts either. And I'm not even including the numerous tweets that have been deleted by its respective users, leaving only remains that show it was just more racist horseshit and doubling down by suddenly deciding nothing in the game looks appealing despite no qualms expressed before this little screenshot, showing their absolute cowardice loud and clear. Some of the ones I showed have even been deleted actually. And to be honest, I don't give a fuck about blocking their stupid Twitter handles. There was also a slew of comments that mocked the hoodie as well as Suda himself. A lot of them seem to think that Travis or Suda or the members of Red Orca are putting themselves on this heroic pedestal and acting like they've accomplished something big. Like they're shouting, "We did it, boys! Racism is no more! Heroes we are!" When really, I don't think that's the point to any of this. Like I said before, when I see that kind of statement out in the open, I'm not loudly cheering them on or handing the person a trophy. I don't really have a reaction at all. With stuff like this, they're not trying to grandstand anything. They're putting in their effort to normalize this way of thinking. If that wasn't what Suda was doing, he would have likely brought attention to it and not treated it the same as literally any other screenshot of the game. Just like whenever a new show or comic or movie or whatever involves a more diverse cast, it shouldn't get any real reaction out of anyone, especially when the character in mind is literally fiction. I think a lot of this also just comes from people's refusal to accept change. They're mad that this game isn't exactly like a game this company made nearly 15 years prior, like they feel betrayed. But that's a topic for another time. Wrapping things up, I think the best part about this hoodie in the game, besides seeing all these racist shitheads getting triggered to high heaven.
So the shit with No More Heroes 3, I don't know if anyone saw it, where like Travis now has a fuck racism shirt. Literally fuck racism. It's like fuck black racism. Shirt with red bold text.
BLM, woo.
Yeah, literally that type of shit. And people got like really fucking mad at it. Like really angry. Because, okay, to my understanding, this is what happened. I want to say it was Bill's voice actor got fired, which pissed a lot of people off because a lot of people really like that character and they're like, dude, what the fuck? But they kind of got over it and it's like, whatever, just, we want No More Heroes 3, we'll get over it, whatever. Now footage is coming out of the game because it's getting close to release. People are really unimpressed with it. Like, I've seen bits of the footage, but apparently there's, like, full-scale demos that are coming out, and people are saying, dude, it looks awful. Where the maps are completely empty, the game runs like ass, like 12 frames a second, and it's missing a lot of features that the fucking first game had, where you can do, like, specific techniques. They're saying that shit's out the window. So you have all this shit coming out, and people are like, dude, this is, like, not great. Like, apparently No More Heroes 3 combat is going to be influenced by Travis Strikes Again. And some people have really strong feelings on Travis Strikes Again. They really don't like that one. Mm-hmm. So you had just this small thing Suda put out where Travis now has an optional fuck racism shirt. The claim is that, oh, it's a reference to the punk band singer that's doing the soundtrack. But a lot of people are like, no. Oh. And it kicked off this whole fucking thing where everyone is ripping Suda's ass for it, where it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking joking? Like, the game barely runs, it has all these problems, and you're wasting time with this. It is a whole fucking, like, it's apparently not great.
It's just a very unfortunate situation.
Yeah, because now that's just going to completely, like, what it's going to do is it's going to draw a line in the sand and people are going to be like, fuck you, I'm tired of this shit, I'm not playing your fucking game if you're going to do this shit. And you're going to have people that are going to be like, well, you need to play the game, it's a, you know, what does it matter, and at the same time, it's so important they did this, like, it's going to get really fucking autistic and it never needed to happen. Like,
yeah. It's just a bunch of bullshit.
It's gonna be fucking awful.
Is where it's placed. And by that, I mean when the player unlocks it. This is a tiny excerpt from my analysis, and I guess slight spoilers of No More Heroes 3. But after Travis fights Native Dancer, Sylvia taunts him about his actual identity. She pulls a little goof on Travis.
Hey, who the hell was that guy?
There is your answer. Your body instinctively jumped into action, trying to prevent this kid from getting hurt. Why is that?
What the hell do you mean? Someone starts to fall, you help them out. Isn't that how it works?
What I find funny is that Travis is basically telling Sylvia that he's just being a good person, what comes natural to any individual. This is what a normal, rational man would do, even for a stranger, right?
You are an assassin. What are you doing helping people? Have you ever helped out any of your other opponents?
I mean...
Why would someone as bloodthirsty as you try to save another ranked assassin?
Sylvia teases that he's not exactly normal or rational, being a killer and all, but that's not the point. Directly after this little discussion about what it means to be a decent human being, that is when you unlock this hoodie that has "fuck racism" proudly written across it. Those cheeky bastards don't miss. Anyway, that'll just about do it for this video. I hope you had as much fun as I did. Thanks for watching and supporting me, everyone. Please stick around for my upcoming analysis on No More Heroes 3. It's gonna be a big one, and more Suda-related content will surely follow as well.